Shalom to the elect of Yasha Allah. Gotta give our praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rekah, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well, who teach well, and a sincere salutation to all the argument, pushing this truth throughout the four winds of the earth, waking up the hopeful elect. Shalom to the outlaw who are listening and learning. I'm Isaiah, coming at you with another lesson in truth, facts, faith, and edification. The Lord's willingness be edifying.
The big meeting that was held at the CIA headquarters in Langley. Was that Friday's program? Okay. So it was reported that John Bolton convened a meeting at the CIA at Langley. Secretary Pompeo was there, Gina Haspel, the director of CIA, Secretary Shanahan of the Defense Department. I forget who else.
Lieutenant Coates, the head of Director of National
Intelligence was there. So we now know what the meeting was about. Oh, like we didn't know on Friday. It was pretty obvious where this is going. I guess the only thing missing out of that meeting is a photograph of John Bolton coming out the door with a yellow pad that says 120,000 troops.
Or a huge bomb. That would have probably been on there too.
So the New York Times reported last night that at the direction of John Bolton, once again, the president's advisor, he doesn't seem to be advising a lot. He seems to be acting as the real president of the United States. Because according to the New York Times, at the direction of John Bolton, Acting Defense Secretary Patrick Shanahan presented top White House national security officials with a plan to send up to 120,000 troops to the Middle East in the event that Iran attacks American forces. So John Bolton ordered the Secretary of Defense. Shouldn't it be the other way around?
You would think so. I mean, if we had an advisor here advising us on the Godcast each day, can you imagine that advisor telling you what to do?
No, that wouldn't happen.
No.
Advisors,
they could make suggestions, say, hey, Rick, can you consider this? Look at this. These are the options. You better do this.
Well, at times,
that's kind of the tone of this.
I mean, he picks up the phone and he calls the Secretary of Defense and orders him to do something.
Well, acting Secretary of Defense. What's important is I think he took advantage of the vacuum that was left with Secretary Mattis leaving his post.
And I think Secretary Mattis left because of this kind of stuff. I think this is one of the examples that drove Secretary Mattis out of the Defense Department. He wasn't going to clash with these people like this. That's my own.
I think you read the article, actually. So it actually brings up an incident they report on from September of last year, where John Bolton attempted, after there was a mortar attack at an embassy in Iraq, a U.S. embassy in Iraq, he attempted to do just this. He tried to come up with a plan of attack in regard to Iran. And Secretary Mattis at the time, the defense secretary, said, this is absolutely crazy. We're not going to start a war, though your war.
And Secretary Mattis is gone, and John Bolton is there, and he's ordering the acting Secretary of Defense what to do. And we're headed to war. So John Bolton is running the show in the White House.
Do you think the president is even aware of what's going on in all of this?
Can he not read? I can read. I mean, does the president, what does he do? Does the president ever, if all he watches is Morning Joe and Fox and Friends, what kind of information is he going to get?
Well, I think they've manipulated his mistrust of the establishment and of the deep state. They now have created an echo chamber of information, whether it be these certain morning TV shows he watches or the information that's brought to him in briefings.
Okay, but whose fault is it?
It's his.
It's his fault.
Yeah, we actually have a soundbite. This is number 16 for our control room, where the president actually called this information fake news being released about 120,000 troops. So now, which is it? Is the order from Mr. Bolton to Acting Secretary Shanahan, just smoke, or is it the real thing?
It's fake news to the president because he doesn't know anything about it.
But it's being done.
That's my hunch. He doesn't know, and so when he says it's fake news, he's telling the truth because he didn't order the Secretary of Defense to prepare war plans.
It's interesting when he is asked about this on the South Lawn of the White House before he was heading out to Louisiana today. They asked him this question about the 120,000 troops, and you're going to find his answer fascinating, Rick. Listen to this. This is clip 16 on our cut sheet.
Would I do that? Absolutely. But we have not planned for that. Hopefully we're not going to have to plan for that. And if we did that, we'd send a hell of a lot more troops than that. But I think it's just, where was that story? The New York Times? Well, the New York Times is fake news.
Okay, so what we just reported here just 5 minutes ago about Advisor Bolton and 120,000 troops, that was reported by the New York Times. The president says that's fake news. But he also said that if we did go, we'd send a whole lot more than 120,000 troops.
Actually, he didn't say that the story was fake news. He said the New York Times was
Yes.
fake news. Thank you. So every once in a while, the New York Times gets it right.
Especially when they're getting leaked to.
Yes.
Right? Because they claim to have been able to quote from senior administration officials, and the named official in the article is actually Ambassador Bolton's sidekick, a man that basically acts as a spokesperson for him, both and his position currently and previously at the American Enterprise Institute. He didn't deny the story. He simply said that for a long time, Iran has always resorted to military action and must be dealt with.
If you're talking 120,000 American troops, we're talking the size of the U.S. invasion of Iraq.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, folks, do you get what we're trying to warn you about? The Zionocons are marching us off to war again, just like we did in 2003. One more time, here we go. The same pattern of behavior directed by the Zionocons. The propaganda, the staged events, the provocations.
And once again, can you tell me who the enemy is? Who's the enemy? What does he look like? And
Well, they're telling us it's Iran, but I don't know why Iran's my enemy.
right,
Iran, the Iranian people have not threatened me. I'm not afraid of the Iranian people. I don't stay awake at night worried about the Iranian people.
and how do we know when we've won? What do we win at the end? At least in World War II, you could say Hitler's gone.
The Nazis are defeated.
The Nazis, they've been beat. We've got V-Day. Let's have a parade. What is the parade going to look like when we're done with Iran? What are we going to be celebrating in that
Star of David in Tehran. What do you think? I mean, what does it look like? Because it has nothing to do with the American people.
Right.
It has everything to do with Israel. Because it's Israel that wants the war. It's not us. It's not the... Again, for 20 years sitting here, I've watched Israel try to start a huge war using the United States, using American men, American blood to fight a Zionist war against Iran.
And they have the most to gain. If you think about this is intricately tied into Syria. If it wasn't for Iran, for example, and Russia, Syria would probably, at this point, their resources would be owned by the Israelis and allies. It is going past even Syria. There is no country in the Middle East other than Iran who is willing at this point to stand up against Israel as they become a regional and a global superpower.
Aside from John Bolton, who is the other person in the world who has repeatedly demanded war with Iran? Benjamin Netanyahu. Over and over, repeatedly, he has called for war with Iran.
Will the real Medes and Purs please stand up? Hey, the Lord say, Isaiah 13 and 17, Jeremiah 51:11, he will put the spirit on the Medes and Persia, man, which is Iran today, man. They playing with fire. North America is playing with gasoline, man, okay? All they doing is adding fuel to the fire, man. Thus saith the Lord.
He's the one who wants this war. And he's frustrated that his...
No, correction. Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai wants a war, okay?
His best propaganda has failed. And Benjamin Netanyahu's true skill is propaganda.
Yes.
He was in charge of propaganda at one time when he was a young man. He was the Israeli propaganda chief. He's very, very good at it. He wants the war. And he has failed repeatedly to get an American president to go to war against Iran. Through all the years of True News, I've seen so many times, I thought, here we go, we're ready to have a war. And we're ramping up right now, just like we have in the past, where the fever gets red hot, and you think, this is it, we're going to have the war. The only difference right now, Doc, is there has never been in the White House a more pro-Zionist president than Donald Trump. That's what worries me. Because I don't think Donald Trump wants a war, but I also believe Israel has their hooks in him so deep that he may not be able to resist the pressure or discern the deception.
Right. You know, I was in the National Guard when the first Iraqi invasion took place, and I wondered every night, am I going to be called up? Am I going to have to go to Iraq? I ended up serving, not in Iraq, but in Panama, receiving vehicles and artillery equipment back from the theater. And, so I was involved in that conflict. I was constantly, I was ready to defend my country for any cost. But the idea, of course, you don't want to go to war. You don't want to fight. But if you do fight, you want to fight for a cause, for a reason.
And Doc, yes. But tell me, what did Iraq do to America?
That was the confusing part for me even back then.
What did they do?
Iraq do?
What was Iraq's role in September 11?
The Bush administration claimed that they provided help in the funding mechanisms for the terrorists. Although the terrorists, we've now learned, if we believe at least the official story, came from Saudi Arabia. So it made no sense. They also claimed that Iraq was building weapons of mass destruction, weapons that never materialized after the United States had the ability to look all over the country for them.
It was all propaganda. Yes. And Doc, back in 2001, right after September 11, 2001, 2002, 2003, all the way through that war, I kept telling the True News audience, do not believe the propaganda. And I lost a lot of audience. I lost a lot of financial support. People were furious with me. Rick, I thought you were a patriot. Why aren't you backing President Bush in this war? Our men are fighting in Iraq. I said, yes, I know that. I don't want them to fight for Israel.
Yes.
If we're going to attack somebody, let's attack Saudi Arabia. Based on what little bit we knew then.
Right.
But I think Saudi Arabia had an accomplice, a manager, a co-conspirator, a handler. But we didn't go to war against Saudi Arabia. We went to war against Iraq. And what was the result? We destroyed Iraq. And for what purpose? What was the purpose? How is the world better today that Iraq has been destroyed? Why is the world better today that Syria has been destroyed? Afghanistan, Libya. Why is the world better today than it was 10, 15 years ago?
And think about this. If a war starts, let's say it starts tomorrow, and we have the same track record with wars that we have going right now, it'll be 2036, and we'll still be fighting in Iran.
And we're $20 trillion more in debt.
Because we've been in Afghanistan for 18 years, and what have we got out of it? Except a lot of dead soldiers and a lot of trouble.
And President Trump told us he was ending the war in Afghanistan. He was ending the war in Syria. But it hasn't ended. Why? Because the Israelis went into action immediately and persuaded President Trump to change his plans. This is what happens every time a president tries to do something contrary to the interests of Israel. Israel's interest is war. It is a warrior nation. It likes war. And it has I think they have a long-term plan to conquer a substantial portion of the surrounding countries.
Create a greater Israel.
Yes. So that's where we're at right now. forget, we got B-52s have been sent there.
Right.
We have carriers that are there.
And now
The buildup has started. Do you see?
and now we're talking a larger invasion force than we had in Iraq.
So what do you need to trigger the mobilization of 120,000 troops? You need a major event like a 9/11. You need something to go down that makes the people of America mad, and those who are sane
Which is a false flag attack.
and aware of the deception and the propaganda,
They become the enemy.
they are silenced because the media will say you're the enemy of America.
They'll be drowned out by the emotion.
And here we go again, the same pattern. The public likes to be deceived.
Oh, there's a Bible verse for that.
Earlier today, you and I, just in an online chat, Doc said, this is the, we're witnessing a repeat of a previous war. And I said to Doc, people love to go to the movies to see sequels.
Yes.
They already know what's going to happen. They want more of what they saw in the previous movie.
Right.
And so the American people are going to go to watch a sequel of the Iraq War because they want another war. Deep down, there's something in this country that a sizable portion of the public likes to know that America is killing somebody someplace.
And what frightens me is there's a substantial number of people in the pew that believe that.
Yes.
And listen, I've got family members that are active duty military, and I believe in them. I believe in our soldiers. I believe when they take an oath, you defend our nation. But I don't want our soldiers, our young men and women, going to fight a conflict where we are not under direct threat. Why would I do that?
We've been living in a fantasy. These sequels, these scripts, they never have anything in it where America actually hurts, actually feels any kind of repercussion for our actions overseas. How many of these countries are we going to attack and expect no response? This country, Iran, is not someone who's just going to roll over.
These are the Persians.
Yes, they've been around
Exactly.
before America.
The Persians. They're not Arabs. All right. The Persians.
Yes, they've survived several rise and falls of their empire over the past several thousand years.
That's right.
They might be able to survive this one too.
That's right. And so
According to the scriptures, they will survive. Like he just said, these are the Persians, man. These ain't no pushovers.
we don't need to be in a war with the Persians. By the way, listen, I just want to be on record.
No, we don't, because the Medes and Persia was the ones that took down the ancient Babylonian Empire, man, which is going to take down the new Babylonian Empire, along with Russia and North Korea and China, okay? Iran is the ones, man. While Esau, Edom, these North American Edomites playing games, man, they barking up the wrong tree, man.
I am for a strong military. I am for our troops. I support our troops. I support our troops more than the warmongers.
Amen.
Because you want them to come home.
Warmongers want them to die.
Yeah, we want them to live.
The reason we support a strong military and stand behind our troops is to defend our homeland. Our homeland is not under attack.
Right.
If it comes under attack, I'll be there with the troops defending the homeland. But I'm not going to war for Israel. Period. You hear that, you Zionists? I'm not going to war for Israel. Enough blood for the Star of David, which is not the Star of David. David never had that star. God told them what star they worshipped.
Yes.
It's a star god, an idol. And to this very day, they're still worshiping their star god. But I'm not going to war for Israel's sake. And I'm fed up. I am totally fed up with these American evangelical Christian pastors beating the war drums in the Church of God, whipping up war fever in their congregations for the sake of Israel. Shame on you, pastors. You're going to give an account for it someday.
Amen.
Because blood's dripping on your hand.
Hey, man. And that's Esau against Esau, man. Everybody fired up, man.
National headquarters of Archie America in our nation's
Everybody fired up.
Hello again, everybody, and let me be the first to say happy Friday. So here, as promised, we are drilling down this afternoon on the subject of U.S. hegemony. How much is too much, we ask, when it comes to U.S. demands that are placed on different countries throughout the world? And do we, especially given our track record in places like Iraq and Afghanistan, really have the moral authority right now, at this time in history, to criticize other countries' foreign policy as stridently as we seem to be doing? This is no small point, by the way, because it goes to something which we talk about here all the time, which is really important. Credibility. It goes to credibility. Presently, we are threatening Iran in a trade war with China, completely at odds on almost every key issue with Russia, assisting in a war in Yemen, while trying to depose the governments of Venezuela and Syria. In fact, here are some numbers that you should know. We are presently engaged militarily in 76 countries. 76 countries we're engaged militarily. We have military bases in 44 countries. We are doing counterterrorism in 56 countries. We are actively bombing by fighter jet or drone 7 countries. We have combat troops on the ground in 15 countries. Now, perhaps the most important question, all those conflicts and all those numbers that I just shared with you, are they benefiting the majority of us, citizens of the United States of America, or are they benefiting the relative few who are becoming very, very wealthy?
Well, according to the scriptures, all wars are banker wars, man. Okay? Just like the video this Edomite did a while ago, all wars are banker wars, man. This is Micah 2 and verse 2. And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses, and they take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. Okay? This is what Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, do, because their blessing was to rule by the sword. Habakkuk 2 and verse 5. It said, yeah, also because he transgresses by wine. His wine is his philosophies, his democracy, his legislations, his policies. He is a proud man, and they tell you in Obadiah 1 and 3 that the pride of their heart have deceived them, the Edomites. Neither keepeth at home, meaning he just told they are in 76 countries. Okay? They have military bases in 49 to 76 countries, man. Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. Neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell. They control everything on the earth, and they still can't get enough, man. These Edomites can never have enough. That's why they want to chip everybody, because they done everything. They done went to every vacation island, beach, okay? They done did everything it is to do, man, under the sun, when you got trillions of dollars. So they are bored, and they have nothing else to do, man, okay? They done did all the underground, watching Jake fight, like when you watch Blood or Bones with this guy Michael J, okay? They done did all that. They done did all the human trafficking and taking organs and trafficking young women and trafficking boys because they pedophiles. They done did everything it is to do in wickedness under the sun, and they didn't have nothing else to do, man. Okay? They done took Jake and just pulled the movie Get Out on them, man. They done did everything. Everything it is to do in wickedness, these Edomites have done it, and they are bored, man. So the only thing left to do is what? Either take over nations by war, or have everybody chip, man, with the RFD microchip, with the mark of the beast. They have done everything under the sun that you can do with trillions and trillions of dollars. And they are bored. Okay? That's why Proverbs 10 and 23 say it is a sport. It is a sport, man, to the wicked to do mischief. It's a sport to them, man. They do these things for sport, man. Okay? Because they can. Because this is their kingdom. This is their rulership. This is their heaven. This is the so-called white man's heaven. Okay? He can do what he want when he want. Again, Habakkuk 2 and 5. It say, who allotted his desire is hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gather unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. This devil, the so-called white man, the red Hebrew Edomite, cannot be satisfied.
As my dad used to say, as a result, this is the news with Rick Sanchez, where we believe it's time to do news again. We're going to begin with the United States and its strident form.
Oh yeah, one more precept. Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 8. It said, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries and riches gotten by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. That's what Esau do. They deal in unrighteousness. By what? Like I love to go to Proverbs 15. This is Proverbs 15 and 22. Without counsel, proposals are disappointed, but in a multitude of counselors, they are established. Proverbs 20 and 18. Every purpose is established by counsel, and with good advice make war. So they established their counsel first. Okay? This wicked ass Edomite John Bolton, Trump know what he doing, man. They establish counsel. They sit around the long table, whether it's oval shaped or long rectangle. They sit around the table, or whether it's a round table, and they make counsel and they make war, man. Because it's a sport to the wicked to do mischief, man.
Foreign policy threats issued just in the past 10 days. An aggressive face-off with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, a ban on Chinese tech products, threatening Germany, forbidding them from buying Russian gas, sending aircraft carriers into the Persian Gulf prepared to attack Iran, and as we saw, covered here live on RT, taking over the Venezuelan embassy in Washington, D.C. and handing it over to opposition leader Juan Guaido. Was that action, in and of itself, within the bounds of international law? Can any country now choose who to install in the embassies of foreign nations?
The Vienna Convention is very clear about the inviolability of diplomatic missions. This is an embassy. It is an embassy in Washington, D.C., and here you have the Trump administration asserting that it can seize an embassy and hand it over to whoever it anoints to be the leader of another country. There is no way that that can pass muster under international law, and it's an extraordinarily dangerous step to take. The Vienna Convention is a treaty ratified by the United States, and treaties that are ratified by the United States are recognized actually within the United States as the highest law of the land. So it is a violation for PEPCO to be acting in joint action in violation. And moreover, PEPCO also knows that regardless of who PEPCO asserts is the lawful owner or person in charge of the premises, it's actually illegal under district law to use what's called self-help means to evict people. You can't just turn off the electricity to get people to leave. You have to go through legal process, and they haven't done it.
That's the lawyer Mara Verhagen Hilliard, who represented the peace activists, by the way, and the Maduro supporters who were held up inside the embassy. Joining us now is Jim Chatras, who is a former U.S. diplomat, so he's a perfect person to tackle the question of U.S. hegemony. It goes beyond the question of what happened in the Venezuelan embassy, but let's go ahead and start there. In your opinion, did the United States violate international law with what they did this week? And if so, how? Under the Vienna Convention, you can break relations with another country. You can expel their diplomats. You can end the diplomatic status of the diplomatic property. I don't know of anything that allows you to just select somebody out of the blue and say, we now say that they're the new government. We're going to turn the embassy over to them. And if another country seized our embassy, broke relations with the U.S., seized our embassy, and then said, Nancy Pelosi, or AOC, is the real president of the United States, we're going to let her people take over the embassy. There's no precedent for that I know.
So kicking the people out of there, you argue, could be defined as something the United States has the right to do. It's what they do afterward in turning it over to a person named Juan Guaido, who really is not the president of Venezuela.
Exactly right. And also the fact that even if we withdraw the diplomatic status, as I understand it, the property is still the property of the Venezuelan government. So assigning that to somebody else, I don't know where we get the authority to do that.
Okay, so but the reason you and I are having this conversation is because that's not just an isolated incident. In the last couple of weeks, we've seen what's going on in Iran, which apparently now the United States is backing off of.
Maybe.
We've seen the threats toward Russia, and the thing with Pompeo and Lavrov, which is kind of ugly. What happened this week with China. We're seeing all these incidents of us seemingly bigfooting foreign policy worldwide. Is it a hegemony? Should we step back? What are your fears?
I think it would be easier if we listed the countries we're not having a confrontation with. It would be a lot shorter. I think mentioning hegemony, the H word, really is what it all comes down to. Look, each one of these disputes, you can look at the specifics, and some of them actually we have some merits in our arguments, some we really don't. But what they all have in common is this, really, in the mid-1990s, this drive, once there was no more Soviet Union anymore, for what Bill Kristol and Robert Kagan called in a very influential 1996 article, benevolent global hegemony. The United States should be the dominant power over the entire planet. And now, by that standard, countries like Russia, China, Iran, they're just in the way.
Man, North America has been the dominance over the entire planet, man. Okay? Since Alexander the Great, man. Okay? They have, man. Since Alexander the Great, Alexander the Faggot, they have ruled the entire planet, man. Okay? Alexander conquered everything, man. All the known world, man. Okay? That's the power of Esau Edom. How did Alexander conquer? Back then was what? The sword, man. Which is what? Their blessing. The sword, man. If you don't know, Esau Edom, the so-called white man, is the Edomites in the Bible. You are a fool, man.
Because they haven't submitted. And he said, in fact, we should take that as a compliment.
So looking at this historically, a lot of our viewers are listening to us and we're going, well, if you look at this, there was a time when the Dutch had an empire and they had colonies everywhere. So did the English, so did the French. And when those kind of dissipated, the United States has kind of stepped in to carry forth that colonization to a certain extent, haven't we?
Sure. I mean, we stepped into the French shoes and into China. We certainly stepped into the British shoes, as they say, east of Suez. The whole greater Middle East, which had been a British sphere of influence, became our sphere of influence. But we're still stuck there.
And that's not a bad thing if you're actually doing it for benevolent causes. The problem is, and I mentioned this in my lead, I don't know if you caught it, who's really benefiting from this? You and I are Americans. We love this country. We want it to do well.
Right.
But are they doing this for Jim and Rick, or are they doing this for somebody else?
Aside from the fact that we have countries like Israel, Saudi Arabia, that exert a lot of influence over our policy, it's also transnational corporations and also what you might call the establishment, the nomenclatura here in Washington, that has a lot of very cozy McMansions around here in the suburbs because this is good business for them, not for the American. It's not just morality, Rick. It's also self-interest. Where's all this infrastructure that Mr. Trump talked about in 2016? Why are we still spending trillions of dollars extending out to the far corners of the globe when we're, by nature, the most secure of the great powers?
So, George Bush said, I'm not going to nation build. Obama said, I'm not going to get involved in other affairs. Yeah. Trump said, let's get out of all those places and make America first, great again, or whatever the hell it was. And yet, every single one of them says it, but doesn't really go through with it.
And maybe they didn't mean it, or maybe they did mean it, and they get here and the swamp wins.
The swamp wins. Let's write a book called The Swamp Wins.
Hey, that's a great title.
That is a great title, Jim. Excellent.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you very much. I'm Rick Sanchez.
Hey, man, I didn't want to play that right there to show you how demonic these devils is, man. And the truth coming out, man. Hey, so with that, I'm gonna give all praise to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Crocodiles, the honor to the apostles and elders, great millstone, who teach well, and sincere salutation to all the ark and pushing the truth throughout the four winds of the earth, waking up the hope for the elect. Hey, shalom to the Akwa for listening and learning. Shalom.